Welcome back to Shocking Stories, where we uncover the darkest corners of true crime that will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss a single chilling tale. Today, we're diving into a case so horrifying, so deceptive, that it shook the glamorous city of Miami, Florida, to its core. This is the story of Victor Langston, a man who promised beauty at a bargain through his upscale clinic, Eterna Beauty. But behind the polished walls of his Ocean Drive office, a nightmare was unfolding. Patients vanished without a trace, and what investigators eventually found buried beneath the clinic floor will haunt you long after this video ends. So, grab a seat, maybe keep the lights on, and let's unravel the deadly practice of a fake doctor who fooled everyone for nearly a decade. And hey, if this story grips you as much as it did me, don't forget to smash that like button and share it with someone who needs to hear this cautionary tale. Let's set the stage in Miami, a city where image often reigns supreme. Here, cosmetic surgery isn't just a luxury, it's a way of life for many. From influencers chasing the perfect selfie to everyday folks hoping to boost their confidence. Into this world stepped Victor Langston in 2014, a man who seemed to have it all: charm, confidence, and credentials that glittered like the Miami skyline. With framed degrees from Johns Hopkins and UCLA hanging on the walls of his sleek clinic, Eterna Beauty, Langston positioned himself as a savior for those who couldn't afford the sky-high prices of established surgeons. He offered liposuction, breast augmentations, facelifts, and more at half the cost, promising life-changing results with a personal touch. His waiting room was always packed, filled with working-class women, recent immigrants, and even some desperate men, all drawn in by his warm smile and reassuring words. "He made me feel like I was his only patient," recalled Maria Gomez, one of the lucky ones who walked away from Eterna Beauty with her life. "He listened to my insecurities about my body and promised to fix everything without breaking the bank. I trusted him completely." Langston's rise was meteoric. By 2016, just 2 years after opening, Eterna Beauty was a household name in Miami's Latinx and immigrant communities. Social media ads flooded platforms like Instagram and Facebook, showcasing before and after photos that seemed too good to be true. Testimonials from satisfied clients praised his gentle hands and affordable rates. Word of mouth spread like wildfire, especially among those who felt excluded by the elitist world of high-end cosmetic surgery. But beneath the glossy surface, something sinister was brewing. Not everyone who walked through Eterna Beauty's glass doors walked out. Between 2015 and 2023, at least 9 women vanished after scheduling procedures with Langston. Their families reported them missing, often to skeptical police who saw no immediate signs of foul play. Langston always had an answer ready. He told investigators that some clients skipped follow-ups, others had mentioned traveling abroad for recovery, and a few, he claimed, never even showed up for their appointments. His clinic's records backed up his story, meticulously falsified to show no trace of these women ever stepping foot inside. The first known disappearance tied to Eterna Beauty was that of Isabella Torres, a 29-year-old single mother and waitress who booked a liposuction procedure in March 2015. Isabella had saved for months to afford the $2,000 surgery, hoping to regain her confidence after childbirth. She told her sister, Elena, that she felt safe with Dr. Langston because he spoke Spanish fluently and seemed to understand her struggles. The day of her surgery, Isabella texted Elena a selfie from the waiting room, captioning it, "Wish me luck, Can't wait to show you the new me. That was the last anyone heard from her. When Elena called the clinic 2 days later, worried that Isabella hadn't come home, a receptionist claimed Isabella had left right after the procedure and seemed fine. Police searched her apartment, finding no signs of a struggle, and with Langston's records showing a signed discharge form, the case was shelved as a possible runaway. Elena never believed it. "My sister would never leave her son," she later told reporters. "She lived for him. Something happened at that clinic. I just knew it." Over the next several years, similar stories piled up. Sofia Alvarez, a 24-year-old student, disappeared in 2017 after a breast augmentation. Her family received a text from her phone a day after the surgery saying she was taking a trip to recover, but the message didn't sound like Sofia at all. Then there was Camila Diaz, a 31-year-old hairdresser who vanished in 2019 after scheduling a facelift. Her boyfriend reported her missing, but Langston told police she had paid in cash and mentioned plans to visit family in Colombia. Each case followed a haunting pattern. The women were often vulnerable, immigrants, low income, or without close family nearby, and their disappearances were explained away with plausible excuses. Meanwhile, Langston's lifestyle grew increasingly extravagant. He drove a Porsche, lived in a waterfront condo in South Beach, and took frequent vacations to the Bahamas, all while claiming his clinic's low prices were a gift to the community. How could a discount surgeon afford such luxury? That question would soon become the key to unraveling his deadly secret. The first real crack in Langston's carefully constructed facade came in late 2022, when a former employee named Carla Rivera mustered the courage to speak out. Carla, a 26-year-old receptionist who worked at Eterna Beauty for 6 months in 2021, had seen things that kept her up at night. She told Miami PD that she'd witnessed Langston performing procedures without proper anesthesia, often in a mysterious back room she was strictly forbidden to enter. He'd lock the door and tell me to stay at the front desk no matter what I heard, Carla recounted, her voice trembling during an interview with detectives. "One day, I heard screams, blood-curdling screams. I thought it was normal for surgery, maybe someone waking up from anesthesia. But then I saw him late at night, carrying heavy black garbage bags to his car. They looked wrong, too heavy to be trash. I quit the next day. I was too scared to ask questions." Carla's fear was palpable, but her tip gave investigators a reason to take a closer look at Eterna Beauty. Could those bags have contained something, or someone, far more sinister than medical waste? Detective Elena Vasquez, a 15-year veteran of Miami's homicide unit, was assigned to the case. A no-nonsense investigator with a reputation for tenacity, Vasquez had a personal stake in the community. Her own aunt had once considered a procedure at Eterna Beauty before opting out due to a bad feeling. Vasquez started by digging into Langston's background, and what she found sent chills down her spine. There was no record of a Victor Langston ever attending medical school or obtaining a license to practice in Florida or anywhere in the United States. His supposed degrees from Johns Hopkins and UCLA were forgeries created with sophisticated software and fake seals. His real name, uncovered through fingerprint matches, was Vincent Larson, a 42-year-old high school dropout from Toledo, Ohio, with a criminal history of fraud, identity theft, and petty theft dating back to his early 20s. Before arriving in Miami, Larson had operated under various aliases, running scams from fake investment schemes to selling counterfeit luxury goods. How had a con artist with no medical training managed to perform surgeries for nearly a decade without being caught. Vasquez knew she was dealing with a master manipulator, but she suspected something far worse than fraud. The missing women tied to his clinic couldn't be a coincidence. Proving Langston's involvement in the disappearances was an uphill battle. His falsified records and polished demeanor made him appear untouchable, and without concrete evidence of a crime, obtaining a search warrant for Eterna Beauty was nearly impossible. Vasquez spent months interviewing families of the missing women, piecing together a timeline of their last known movements. Many had been lured by online ads promising affordable beauty transformations, often targeting those with limited means or language barriers. Isabella Torres's sister, Elena, provided a heartbreaking detail. Isabella had borrowed money from a loan shark to pay for her surgery, desperate to feel beautiful again for her son. Sofia Alvarez's family shared a text message sent the day before her procedure. "I'm nervous, but Dr. Langston says I'll look like a model. Can't wait to show you." The message was sent from Sofia's phone, but her brother later noted the wording felt off, as if someone else had typed it. Camila Diaz's boyfriend recalled her mentioning that Langston insisted on cash payments and discouraged bringing family to appointments, claiming it was for privacy. These red flags painted a picture of a predator who targeted the vulnerable, isolating them from support systems before they stepped into his trap. Vasquez also tracked down former patients who had survived their procedures, though many bore physical and emotional scars. Samantha Torres, a 33-year-old cashier, described a near-death experience during a botched liposuction in 2019. "He didn't use enough anesthesia, or maybe it was fake," she told Vasquez, her hands shaking as she spoke. "I woke up during the surgery, screaming in pain. I could feel everything. He just told me to be quiet, that it would be over soon. I passed out again, and when I woke up, I had these horrible scars and couldn't feel parts of my stomach. He threatened me, said if I told anyone he'd ruin my life. I believed him. I lived in fear for years." Samantha's story wasn't unique. Other survivors reported infections, nerve damage, and psychological trauma from their time under Langston's scalpel. Yet fear kept them silent, allowing him to continue his deadly practice unchecked. The investigation dragged on with frustrating dead ends. Vasquez knew Langston was hiding something, but without physical evidence, her hands were tied. She began to suspect a financial motive. How else could a supposed discount surgeon afford a Porsche and $1 million condo? A forensic accountant brought in to examine Langston's finances uncovered suspicious transactions, large cash deposits, wire transfers to offshore accounts, and purchases of luxury goods that far exceeded his reported income. But linking this to the missing women remained elusive. Vasquez theorized that Langston might be stealing identities or draining bank accounts post-procedure, but she needed proof. She set up discreet surveillance outside Eterna Beauty, hoping to catch him in a slip-up. Night after night, officers watched as Langston left the clinic late, often carrying heavy bags to his car, just as Carla Rivera had described. But without a warrant, they couldn't intervene. The tension was palpable. Vasquez felt the weight of every missing woman on her shoulders, knowing time was running out to stop this monster. The turning point came unexpectedly on March 15th, 2023, when a construction crew renovating a building adjacent to Eterna Beauty reported a foul odor emanating from the alley behind the clinic. Initially suspecting a sewer leak, they alerted city officials, who sent a team to investigate. The smell wasn't coming from pipes. It was strongest near the clinic's back entrance, seeping through the concrete foundation. Health inspectors notified the police, and Vasquez finally had probable cause for a search warrant. On March 20th, her team descended on Eterna Beauty with forensic experts, cadaver dogs, and ground-penetrating radar. Langston wasn't there. He'd left for a business trip to the Bahamas the day before, but what they found inside would become one of the most gruesome discoveries in Miami's criminal history. The clinic's interior was pristine, with marble floors, modern art on the walls, and a waiting room that screamed luxury. But beneath the surface, literally, lay horror. In the basement, hidden behind a false wall panel and accessible only through a locked trap door, investigators uncovered a makeshift morgue. The cadaver dogs went wild as they approached the area, and when the concrete floor was broken open, the team found the remains of 7 women, their bodies partially preserved with industrial-grade formaldehyde. The stench was overpowering, even through protective masks, and several officers had to step outside to compose themselves. Dental records and personal items, rings, necklaces, a hair clip with a child's name engraved, identified the victims as patients who had vanished over the past 8 years, including Isabella Torres, Sofia Alvarez, and Camila Diaz. 2 bodies remained unidentified, hinting at even more victims yet to be reported. Autopsies conducted by the Miami-Dade County Medical Examiner revealed a pattern of horrific malpractice and deliberate murder. The women had died from a combination of causes related to botched surgeries, severed arteries during liposuction, infections from unsterilized equipment, and overdoses of black market anesthetics that weren't even approved for human use. But the evidence suggested more than incompetence. Several victims showed signs of ligature marks on their wrists and ankles, indicating they had been restrained, possibly kept alive for days after their procedures as infections set in. The medical examiner noted that some wounds appeared to have been inflicted post-surgery, as if Langston had experimented on them or ensured their deaths to cover his tracks. This wasn't just negligence, Dr. Anita Patel, the lead pathologist, told Vasquez. This was intentional. He knew they wouldn't survive, and he made sure of it. Langston was arrested on April 2, 2023, as he returned from the Bahamas, caught at Miami International Airport with a suitcase stuffed with $200,000 in cash and 3 fake passports under different aliases. During interrogation, he showed a chilling lack of remorse, leaning back in his chair with a smirk as Vasquez laid out the evidence. "They wanted beauty, and I gave them eternity," he said cryptically, refusing to elaborate. He claimed to have worked alone, learning surgical techniques from online videos and black market contacts, but Vasquez wasn't convinced. His laptop, seized during the arrest, contained encrypted files hinting at connections to a larger network supplying him with drugs, forged documents, and possibly even clients for his dark web dealings. Digital forensics experts are still working to crack the encryption, but early findings suggest Langston may have been a cog in a much larger machine of organized crime. The investigation took a bizarre turn when Vasquez received an anonymous tip via a burner phone 2 weeks after Langston's arrest. The distorted voice on the line whispered, "You've got the butcher, but the market's still open. Check the Bahamas." The call ended abruptly, and attempts to trace it led nowhere. Vasquez's team dug into Langston's travel records, finding frequent trips to Nassau under the guise of medical conferences. Property records showed he owned a small storage unit on the island, registered under one of his aliases. When Bahamian authorities searched the unit at the FBI's request, they found medical equipment, more forged documents, and a ledger listing names and dollar amounts, some matching known victims, others unknown. Was this evidence of a trafficking ring or something even more sinister? The discovery raised questions about whether Langston was truly the mastermind or just a player in a global network of exploitation. Back in Miami, the trial of Vincent Larson, aka Victor Langston, began in November 2023 and became a media sensation, dubbed the Butcher of Ocean Drive by tabloids. Prosecutors presented a mountain of evidence, surgical tools with DNA from multiple victims, surveillance footage of Langston disposing of heavy bags late at night, and testimonies from survivors like Samantha Torres, who broke down on the stand as she described her ordeal. "I thought I was going to die on that table," she sobbed. "I could feel him cutting into me, and he didn't care. He just kept going. I'm alive, but I'll never be whole again." The courtroom was silent as photos of the basement morgue were shown, the jury visibly shaken by images of the preserved remains. The prosecution also called family members of the victims to testify, their grief raw and palpable. Elena Torres spoke of her sister Isabella, holding up a photo of her with her young son. "She just wanted to feel beautiful for him," Elena said, tears streaming down her face. "She trusted this man, and he took her from us. I spent 8 years wondering where she was, blaming myself for not stopping her. Now I know she was under his floor the whole time." The emotional weight of these testimonies was matched by forensic evidence, including Langston's own handwritten notes found in a locked drawer. One entry read, "Subject 6 resisted, increased dosage, disposal scheduled for 3 a.m., payment processed." The cold clinical language revealed a man who saw his patients not as people, but as transactions. Langston himself took the stand against his attorney's advice, a decision that backfired spectacularly. Under cross-examination, his charm morphed into arrogance, his answers dripping with disdain. When asked why he targeted vulnerable women, he shrugged and said, "They came to me. They wanted what I offered. If they couldn't handle the outcome, that's not my fault." Gasps echoed through the courtroom, and even his defense team looked shaken. His lack of remorse sealed his fate in the eyes of the jury, who deliberated for just 4 hours before convicting him on 9 counts of first-degree murder, multiple counts of fraud, identity theft, and desecration of human remains. On January 15, 2024, Judge Carlos Mendoza sentenced Langston to death, a rare penalty in Florida, reflecting the sheer brutality and scale of his crimes. "You violated the sacred trust between doctor and patient," Mendoza said, his voice heavy with disgust. "You turned a place of healing into a slaughterhouse. Society demands the ultimate penalty for such depravity."